when we meet our heroes in Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, Percy is in a different place than he was at the end of the first movie. He's been kind of one-upped in Camp Half-Blood by a new camper called Clarice LaRue, who pretty much is better at everything. And that puts a lot of sort of self-doubt and very relatable kind of frustration in Percy. Percy and the Half-Bloods find that their camp has come under attack because the protective barrier around the camp has been compromised, and which makes them now vulnerable to attacks from the outside. So the only thing that can really fix the barrier, which is generated by Talia's tree, which is very important in this movie, is the golden fleece of myth. So Percy and his friends venture out, across, the eastern continent, side of the United States into the Sea of Monsters, which to humans is known as the Bermuda Triangle. And they go on to Cyclops Island, Circe Island, to retrieve the Golden Fleece from Polyphemus, who is sort of the mythological Cyclops guardian of the fleece. Tyson is unique in that he cannot really be called, and Chiron makes this very clear, he cannot be called a half-blood because that would mean he's half human. His other half is actually a sea nymph, but his father is Poseidon, god of the sea, which makes him the half-brother of Percy Jackson, much to Percy's shock and chagrin. He's never had family per se, and the fact that his new half-brother is, in his eyes, still the star of Camp Half-Blood, is to be in a great position. It's like, rubbing elbows with a rock star is how Tyson perceives it. Percy, of course, he says to him once in the movie, you never have any doubts or think you're less than you are, which makes you so cool. And of course, we know, watching the movie, that that's the complete opposite of how Percy feels about himself. So those are rich themes which I think get resolved really nicely through the relationship between Tyson and Percy. Clarice is the daughter of Ares, the god of war, which makes her incredibly competitive. She takes no prisoners. She, sticks it to you anywhere, anywhere she can. She, is not a good team player. She wants to be number one and nothing but that. So that, of course, is like fertile ground for conflict and for making Percy feel less than himself, because she's winning at everything. What we discover later on, I feel, especially in the way that Levin Rambin portrays her, is that there is kind of a deep-seated insecurity underneath it all, and actually kind of a real need to be liked, And in the end, I think Clarice, who I think we discover suffers mostly from being the daughter of the god of war, who is, the god of war is really hard on his children and will accept nothing but victory and, an A-plus score. So that's the pressure that Clarice finds herself under. Some Half-Bloods are able to take it and kind of run with it and make the best of what they're given. Luke, not so much. Luke holds deep resentment against his father, and as a result, has turned into essentially this bad seed, an antagonist that turns towards the dark side and makes it his stated goal to bring down Olympus, bring down Camp Half-Blood. Logan brings a great deal of depth and dimension, I think, to Percy. In a movie that's primarily a kind of light and very fast-paced action-adventure movie, it's because of Logan that there's a sort of emotional undercurrent in it. Percy's self-doubt, Percy's struggles with, being, he feels unheard by his father. And finally, sort of Percy's relationship with Tyson, which really flourishes in an unexpected way. All those things really benefit from Logan's automatic inclination, to go to these places as a dramatic actor. Alexandra is amazing. I mean, her, she's kind of like Annabeth herself. There's a real sort of deliberate, planned out strategy to how she approaches a performance. I think And mostly that is, she is the first one on the mark in rehearsals. She, comes to you with any issues or problems or thoughts she had, and she writes down, pages of analysis on the character. So I found it really great that there's somebody who, you know, is doing as much homework as I am doing, making this movie. Grover's great. What I wanted to do is, combine in this movie, combine the fun of Brandon with a little bit of the real stakes of he finds himself, at first pulled into this humongous undertaking that he feels is completely wrongheaded. And we kind of can relate to that based on the history of previous satyrs. Then he gets kidnapped and taken away. And when we find him, he is in the most kind of scarily absurdist situation, and how he deals with it, I think, is very funny. So I think Brandon does a great job of juggling the comedy with, the real world stakes, never letting us forget that our heroes are in dire danger and could die at any moment. I hope audiences will relate to Percy Jackson, the character, not only as a demigod, but really as a teenager who is wanting to find himself and in the end does. Secondly, I hope that the audience, is taken on a wild ride and enjoys the action adventure for what it is. And then finally, what tickled me about the book series was its sort of tongue-in-cheek humor. It made me laugh more often than not, and the books themselves sort of know when not to take themselves very seriously, and that's something we wanted to bring to the movie, and I hope the audience can enjoy that.